So now with Harbaugh out there and on the market and, you know, the wild card weekend coming up, are there any teams whose coaches are playing for their jobs this weekend? Because this whole Harbaugh's gone and McDaniel is gone now that Harbaugh's gone, but it's not really because Harbaugh's gone, is a 2-day stretch of a coaching carousel that's so unique. I have to figure that we're not done in some way, shape, or form. Tom, are there any coaches coaching for their gig this weekend, do you think?
There's a wise football man that I talk to a lot this time of year whose phrase is always, the owners are always watching the owners. In other words, when all of a sudden, let's say the Browns fire a 2-time NFL Coach of the Year in Kevin Stefanski, the Falcons fire a coach who ended on a 4-game winning streak in year 2 in Raheem Morris. Then John Harbaugh gets fired by the Ravens. There are owners who suddenly start to rethink their position and go, wait, they fired those guys and we're keeping this guy? That is a real phenomenon within the league, and that's where sometimes you see these ripple effect firings that don't take place on the proverbial Black Monday. We've had a Black Tuesday, we've had a Black Thursday this week, and there oftentimes is one more that comes next week. I don't think that it's any secret who potentially those teams could be, or at minimum what has been speculated about in league circles. You start with Pittsburgh. I have no reason to believe at this point, based on my understanding of how Mike Tomlin has proceeded about his business in recent weeks, the type of conversations that happen internally, the way that he's focused on this team, I have no reason to believe the rampant rumors that I get 5 calls about a day that Mike Tomlin is going to walk away and take a year off. He could do that. Mike Tomlin would have a TV job in about 5 seconds. But does Mike Tomlin actually want to do that? I don't get that sense from people who are around Mike Tomlin on a daily basis. Could he go to Art Rooney and say, you know what, I want to go someplace else? I could certainly see Mike Tomlin being appealing to, let's say, a Miami Dolphins that have now made a change. But is any situation going to be better than the one that Mike Tomlin has in Pittsburgh, where he's got authority over really everything? He's got the ultimate job security. I don't envision a scenario where Art Rooney is moving on from a guy who's never had a losing season and is in the playoffs for the 13th time in 19 years, albeit without a playoff win over the past nearly a decade here. So for Mike Tomlin, he's going to make that call, or he'll make none. And he'll say, Aaron Rodgers quite possibly wants to come back. We really made strides down the stretch. We're finally playing the style we want to. Maybe I'll give this another run in 2026. We'll see how that plays out. But we won't know that unless and until the Steelers are out, which they don't play until Monday night against the Texans. There's certainly been speculation about Buffalo. I would also say Sean McDermott is one of the fastest, if not the fastest coach in NFL history to 100 wins in 9 years. He's been highly successful in the NFL. But again, to use that theory of the owners watching the other owners, Terry Pagula is not blind to what's going on in other places. If you are firing John Harbaugh because he's not getting over the hump with Lamar Jackson, do you consider just, hey, Sean McDermott's a great and highly successful coach, but maybe we need a different voice? Again, there's nothing in motion at this time, but let's see what happens on Sunday in Jacksonville and then find out if we get another stunner. And then the other one that just is a topic because of the situation contractually is in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur is, again, the oldest coach in the NFC playoff field at age 46. He's in the middle of his career. He's got a long way to go. But Matt LaFleur, if you just look at the market here, the market dynamics, Rich, and they exploded last year with coaching contracts, both for veteran coaches and for first-timers. Matt LaFleur, objectively speaking, is a $15 million a year coach in the NFL. The Packers are not paying him $15, I'll tell you that right now at this time. If they decide, you know what, we're not willing to go there, or we're not willing to commit long-term, then there's decisions that everybody needs to make. Does Matt say, I'm just going to coach out 2026? Does he say, all right, cool, if you're not going to pay me, then let's work out something with another team that was willing to make a long-term commitment, and maybe I could just turn loose my agent to go negotiate a contract and then work out compensation in a trade? Do they just decide to part ways? I personally believe that is unlikely right now. I believe that the Packers would be making, frankly, subjectively to me, a huge mistake, letting go a guy who is not just one of the most successful youngish coaches in the NFL, but also a top 5 play caller in the NFL. That is not an easy guy to replace, all of which makes me believe, Brian Gutekunst's contract also has 1 year left, the GM. It makes me believe they're going to find a way to work this thing out. But coaches are very aware of their value. You remember in Minnesota last year, Rich, there were rumors about, somebody tried to trade for Kevin O'Connell. What does the future hold there? The Vikings, if memory serves, had a deal done with Kevin O'Connell like 4 days after the season, 10 days after the season, whatever it was. It was right after. It was in January. They immediately took care of business. I think the timeline applies. It's the same agency that represents Matt LaFleur, that represents Kevin O'Connell. I have no reason to believe that they're not going to see if they can get something done. But if they can't, or if they're not on the same page of what Matt LaFleur is worth, then that opens up other possibilities. So right there, you've got 3 teams that, while it seems unlikely on paper that anything happens with any of those, we've already seen some unlikely things happen just in the past few days.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.